Welcome into another edition of the Soft Verbal Podcast presented by the College Corner. I'm Neil McCready, Zach Berry with me here today as well. You'll see Zach, if you're watching in the live stream, you'll see Zach here in just a moment. I promise he's here. In fact, I'll prove it to you now. There he is. Congratulations. There's Zach. Even with a wave. Look at that. He's dialed in, ready for a hardcore recruiting podcast. Well, first we'll tell you about the College Corner. It's your one-stop Rebel Shop. 2 locations in the Jackson area. In Ridgeland, the College Corner is next to Fleet Feet. In Flowood, it is next to Half Shell. If you don't live in Jackson, it's okay. You can go to the College Corner, collegecornerstore.com. Plus, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. Whether you're tailgating in Oxford or home gating with friends and family, the College Corner has you covered for game day with the largest selection of Rebel gear in Central Mississippi. I'm in the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is that number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. 662-257-1900. Zach, how are you?
Neil. Doing well. The rain has, I believe, dissipated for the time being, finally. I don't know how it was in Oxford, but it pretty much rained here a week straight.
Well, as you know, it rained on Friday, and as you probably are well aware, it rained a lot on Saturday. I would think I was actually surprised Saturday to see the pictures of the Walk of Champions in the Grove. Because if you lived in Oxford on Saturday as the rain just pelted down, you thought, well, this would not be a day to be in the Grove. And so when you saw the people actually in the Grove, there was like a window of good weather, and then you could kind of feel in the air that more rain was coming. And as you're probably aware, it absolutely stormed for a while on Saturday night. So, but yeah, they got a game in. There was a moment there where I kind of thought, you know, if this system just stalls, I don't know when you play. Like, is it you kick off at 11 o'clock? But
yeah,
they got it in. 8:45 was. One point, someone said 8:30, and I said that seems really optimistic. But 8:45 happened, and good for them. Glad it got in. Obviously,
yeah. I had a inside source on the kickoff, and by inside source, I mean I know someone that's on the officiating crew.
I figured as much. Yeah.
And they were like 8:30. They said they're not moving it back, and so at that point, I guess the Lightning had basically because they're going to play in the rain. I mean, you know, you've covered the sport. I mean,
sure.
That's the thing about football is, especially Power 5 football, and with a television time slot, they're going to get it in if they can. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, unless it just gets absolutely biblical out there, which I heard it was close to that.
There were a few minutes where it looked kind of biblical. Yeah, you couldn't see across the field.
So, close to a 2-hour delay. Stayed up, watched it. It was pretty dominant. I thought that there was a moment when Tulane was going to get a little spunky, and credit to Ole Miss. They hit them in the mouth, and the rest is history, I guess, literally, because Matt Corral had 7 touchdowns.
So Lane Kiffin met with the media on Wednesday. I do a thing called What He Said, What He Meant, sponsored by MyPerfectFranchise.net.
Yeah.
I actually kind of enjoy doing it because it makes me – I don't know. I think Kiffin's press conferences are fairly entertaining because he has kind of a dry wit, and sometimes he barely talks and you can kind of not even hear him. And sometimes someone will get him kind of going on something, but if you go back and just listen to transcribe what he says and read it and think about it, a lot of times he's using the media and that medium as a way to get messages across. And I thought yesterday, we're taping this on Thursday. Yesterday's a horrible term to use in a podcast. I apologize. On Wednesday, obviously Ole Miss doesn't play Alabama until October the 2nd. So Ole Miss doesn't have a game this weekend. They're going to be out recruiting and stuff like that. But I thought it was pretty clear that he was using that platform on Wednesday to talk about recruiting and at times to talk to recruits. He talked about how going through the Grove I guess a couple hours before the game was scheduled to begin, so 5-ish, I'm guessing, that it was electric, that he thought, oh, boy, the stadium's going to be pretty lit. And then obviously I don't think anybody's holding it against anybody who at 8:30 said, hey, come on. I mean, we got to get out of here. We're soaked. It's cold. We're not going to – little Johnny's not going to make it till 11:45. We might as well go someplace and watch. I mean, anybody who faults those kinds of people, shut up. And he didn't. He said, obviously the weather impacted the atmosphere in the stadium, but that the camera shots are mostly on the field, and on the field they did a lot of things. 61 points in 2.5 quarters basically is pretty electric. So you're in touch with recruits. It's very clear to me that Lane Kiffin feels like, and this is the first time that I've sensed this type of palpable confidence, that his program, at least at this point, 3 games into the 2021 season, his program has momentum nationally, is resonating with elite kids. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. And I'll say this to all the students that are out there listening. I'm sure they tuned in right when they got out of class for this one. But, shout out to the students, because honestly, I had friends that were at the game and they were sending me pictures of how bad the rain was. And throughout that hour 45 that the game was delayed, the students, for the most part, stayed. And I don't know if it's because they got a DJ there. They've got booze in the stadium now, so they can go get a drink. They don't have to leave to go to the Grove.
And yes.
So Keith Carter, check. Good job there. Yeah. But, I mean, no one's going to fault the student for leaving when you're completely soaked, the game hasn't started, and it's a non-conference game against a okay to good opponent. I mean, Tulane's not bad, but they stayed. But I'll say this, the folks that I talked to after the game on Saturday, all of them mentioned this, and I thought that it was interesting. And obviously, it's not planned. It wasn't planned in the official visit, or it wasn't planned in the unofficial visit. But because of the delay, a lot of the recruits got to hang around with the coaches longer, got to see the players longer, got to be in the locker room longer. Because as we all know, we've talked about on the show, more times than not, coaches would rather a kid wait to do an official after the season because they can spend more time with them. Because on a game day, you're game planning, you're meeting with your players, you're having position meetings, your focus is on the game. You're not worried about recruiting at that moment. But with the delay, Justin Martin said it, the quarterback out of California. Stone Blanton mentioned it. A couple of the other guys, like Kyron Heath, the Ole Miss commit, the tight end out of Texas, was there for his official visit. He said the same thing. He said it was cool. They got to see what it was like during a weather delay if you're ever in college and that happens. They got to sit around with coaches longer. They got to, they had more meetings with the players to stay focused and to go over the game plan again. They got to sit in on that. So that was, obviously a non-organic thing that was built into their visit that I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't think about that at all until they mentioned it when I talked to them. But yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of where Lane Kiffin is kind of in the weeds. That lion that's hunting a gazelle and he's kind of crouched down, ready to take off. I kind of sense this is how that staff is right now. They've got they're 3-0, ton of momentum. I mean, all the hype is building for the game in a week. Matt Corral, top of the, betting odds for the Heisman right now. Y'all talked about it on the show this week about, will they or won't they do game day in Tuscaloosa? I mean, it's all there. So they have their, they are the pulse of college football to most people right now. I mean, everybody's talking about the offense. The defense has improved. What DJ Durkin and Chris Partridge have done is starting to resonate nationally. I mean, I looked at the statistics. They're 50th in total defense right now. It's against non-conference opponents, but that's better than being 117th. Bill C's projections and SP Plus really like them defensively right now. So, yeah, I mean, if you're an Ole Miss fan, it's good to be an Ole Miss fan right now because you are starting to feel the love, I guess you could say, because people were still kind of, can Matt Corral stop the turnovers? Can the defense get better? They've answered those questions so far.
Oh, look, they're better on offense than they were a year ago. We keep talking about the offense like it's been just this continuity. No, they're better than they were a year ago because
which is wild to say without Elijah Moore.
But they're not turning the football over. A year ago, they had some turnover issues. So far this year, they haven't turned the ball over, but the one time Henry Parrish had a fumble, and frankly, the kid for Tulane just made a great play. At some point, you do have to the other team's trying to play football too, and you got to give them credit. And that kid put the helmet right on the ball, and the ball came out, and that's what you kind of teach tackling. And there's a reason you teach it that way, because it can lead to turnovers. Regardless, they're much better on defense also. I mean, they've gone from, as you said, 117 to 55-ish, which is a massive jump, just a massive jump. So they've got a lot of momentum. So let's talk about some recruiting. Jalen Jones commits, the kind of athlete, quarterback / safety. He's going to play defense at the college level. A big 6'3", 215 kid from Little Rock, I think Parkview, something like that. I can't remember the exact school.
I think it's Parkview Magnet. It's in Little Rock.
Okay. A guy who's just putting up terrific numbers so far this season in his senior year. What's the latest with him?
Real quick, trivia question, and I know this from high school. I learned this in high school. Parkview recently blew out Pine Bluff. This is a two-parter. Do you know the mascot of Pine Bluff High School, and do you know who their most famous alum is?
Pine Bluff High School. Their mascot is the Panthers, and their most famous alum is Clubber Lang. I don't know.
All right. I'm double checking to make sure. Okay, no, I was right. The Pine Bluff High School Zebras.
Oh, wow. That's the only zebra I've ever heard of.
They're called, they're nicknamed the Zebras, the Z's, or just Z's, which makes for some interesting uniforms. They obviously have the stripes on the shoulders. I played there in a tournament in high school for baseball, and I figured out who their most famous alumni is for good reason, because we were there for baseball. It is Torrey Hunter.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and I was watching some cut-ups of Jalen White, and the football field is Torrey Hunter Field. So I would imagine that Torrey Hunter, a professional athlete, played some football too and was probably pretty good.
That's probably a safe bet. Torrey Hunter was one hell of a Major League Baseball player, so it stands to reason that he was probably a good high school athlete. I'm going to venture to guess that's accurate.
Yeah, if you play 19 seasons in the majors, you're probably pretty athletic.
Yeah,
Jalen White this year is playing a ton of quarterback for Parkview, and I mean, he's essentially just an athlete back there. Reminds me a ton, not just basically what he does for his football team. For those that probably remember Will Redmond out of Memphis East, who went to Mississippi State, plays in the NFL right now. Basically, their offense is what East did with Will Redmond. It's just Jalen White right, Jalen White left. He runs a lot of zone read, but he throws the football a little bit too. But he's going to play safety at the next level. Might grow into a linebacker. Might grow into kind of a Otis Reese type.
I was going to say, at that size, 6'3", 215, he could easily end up being 6'4", 230, which is kind of linebacker size.
Yeah, he can really run, but really physical too. I put his junior tape because he plays some defense this year, but he's mostly playing quarterback for Parkview because they need him, or I don't think the offense can do much. But they got a pretty good 1-2 punch there. I cannot remember his name, but his teammate running back is committed to Arkansas, so he's a pretty solid high school player too. But yeah, he does a lot of zone read and just out athletes people. But yeah, really physical. From his junior tape, zero signs of being shy of contact. So with that size and speed, I anticipate him probably playing a lot of special teams and fighting to get into that rotation in 2022 at the third level.
You mentioned Arkansas. I know they were recruiting him at one point. I got the impression that things sort of fell apart. What happened there?
It appears, I reached out to a couple of people and they couldn't really speak specifically of any one thing. It just kind of seemed like on the visit, nothing really jived. And it could also, Branson Robinson's the type, from Germantown High School in Madison, Mississippi, just wanted to leave, just wanted to go do something different.
Sure.
I think that probably played a role where he really connected with Coleman Hutzler and Randall Joyner. They were his two primary recruiters. When I talked with him after his unofficial in July, he said he just loved the coaching staff. He loved the energy. I think there were a lot of question marks early on with the staff when they were hired, and came highly regarded, but they were all really young, and that's a fair, that's fair to be concerned, just because they don't have a ton of experience, they don't have longevity at a Power 5 position. But I think that youth on the staff is resonating with a lot of recruits, where it's just a lot of energy, and guys are just really connecting with the staff early on. Jake Thornton's done a really nice job. He's really young, but yeah, I just think he connected well with those two coaches. He likes Lane Kiffin, and then obviously he likes what he's seen on the field so far in 2021.
So some other guys visited. I know there's a lot of focus on Justin Martin, the quarterback from California, who has subsequently decommitted from Cal. Mm-hmm. And I think there was an assumption, and it might still be accurate, I don't know. There was an assumption that, hey, Justin Martin was decommitting from Cal to do it the right way so that he could turn around and commit to Ole Miss on the heels of his official visit. Again, as we tape this Thursday, a little before 1 o'clock, that commitment has not happened yet. There's talk about him visiting UCLA, which wouldn't come until next month, sometime in October. What's kind of your sense on what's going on there?
So when I talked to him, and every time I've spoken with Justin, you don't get this a lot in covering recruiting, and you've done it too, so I'm sure you can attest to this, but probably one of the nicest kids that I've talked to in a long time. Always gives really thorough answers that you can tell that he's really thought about. But yeah, I get the sense that he's wanting to be as respectful as possible to everybody that's recruiting him. He's not doing it for attention. He's not doing it to, go out and get a bunch of free trips. I think he legitimately wants to go through his options. When I talked to him earlier this year, he mentioned he didn't really get a recruiting process as a junior because in California, he didn't play his junior year until the spring. So he was kind of focused on getting ready for that. He didn't get that junior year where that fall you take a ton of unofficial visits and start to, go through who you like and who you don't like. So I think he's just wanting to get to experience recruiting. And then I think the interest from Chip Kelly and UCLA is genuine. I think that he wants to see that through. And he told me that the game that he plans to go to is, probably going to be a good one. UCLA lost to Fresno in a wild one this past weekend, but they're hosting Oregon. That'll be a big time game that I think he wants to go and see what the atmosphere is like, and then try to make a decision after that. He told me he wasn't going to delay it too much because he doesn't want to keep people waiting, because he's a kid that understands how it works.
Yeah, it was interesting because Kiffin, in his press conference on Wednesday, was asked about the offenses getting so much better in the SEC kind of across the board since he started, in the SEC as a head coach at Tennessee in, 2008? And he answered the question. This is a good question. Nick Suss asked the question. It was a really good one, and Lane gave it the respect that it deserves. But he shifted in mid-answer to, all the good players play in the SEC, and he referred to California specifically, and it felt like in that moment he was talking to Justin Martin without talking to Justin Martin. I just found that interesting. And I could be completely wrong. Lane could have been referring to a player somewhere else. He could be referring to Matt Corral, who's a Californian who's doing pretty good things right now on the Ole Miss roster. He referred to Hawaii, which could have easily been a reference to Tua Tagovailoa. I don't know. But it was an interesting answer, and I kind of felt like at the time it was, my opinion, it was talking to recruits, maybe a specific recruit about, the best players come to play in the SEC, which is, if you're trying to beat UCLA at this point for a quarterback from California, that's the message, is that the best players play here. Look at the quarterbacks that the SEC is producing on a pretty regular basis at this point, including the one at Oxford who's from California. I mean, it's pretty It's a pretty easy message to put together.
Yeah, and for those that are, maybe a little, uneasy or maybe a little antsy about, well, I thought he was just going to flip right away. And I think that the staff is going to stick with what they've done. They're not going to push for commitments. They're going to be patient. And, they've said this whole time that, basically with these two guys that were in town for official visits, Justin Martin's been their number one guy at quarterback this whole time. And Quinshon Judkins, the running back that we'll get to out of Pike Road in Alabama, he's been Kevin Smith's number one guy at running back. They're going to be patient. They're not going to push. They're not going to hotbox them when they're in town. They're not going to say, hey, you got to commit now or you're no, they're not going to do that. So,
but that's how you end up getting kids who are, frankly, soft verbals. I mean, you end up getting kids who are, they commit, but they're not really committed. They committed because that got you the hell off their back and reserved a spot.
Yeah.
But it's not a convicted commitment, and so other people continue to recruit because duh, and you end up losing a quarterback in December, and then you're scrambling. You don't want to do it that way. I mean, there comes a point where you got to say, hey, got to know really in the next day or so, got to know what you're doing. But I don't know that September the 20-something is that day. That feels like a really good way to get burned, and that's just not the way they operate, and frankly, I think it's really smart.
Yeah, so and I think that they trust what they've done. They trust the work they've put into his recruitment and what they've put on the field because, I mean, Justin Martin didn't shy away from commenting on the offense or Matt Corral's performance or Lane Kiffin. I mean, it's all in the interview there on rebelgrowth.com where he spoke as highly as you could about the offense, said it was probably the best offense in the country, said that Lane Kiffin's history of working with quarterbacks and getting them ready for the NFL speaks for itself. And, he's built a relationship with Matt Corral, hanging out with him a couple times since he's been in town, and then also the California connection. So if he wants to, if he told the staff, if he was honest with them and said, I love what you guys are doing, I want to see this through and take a visit to UCLA. If he's the number one guy, they're going to say, okay, yeah, that's fine. Well, let us know, make your decision after that. We'll be here waiting on you. So they're not going to push or pressure him into doing anything that he's not ready to do yet. So I don't think the immediate flip is a bad sign. I think that he just wants to take his visit because he didn't get to experience recruiting. So I think that's where they're at with the quarterback position right now. I will say I won't pressure you into going, but Justin Martin spoke highly of it, and him and his family made a return to Lamar Yard on South Lamar in Oxford. Him and his dad went and enjoyed it for his unofficial, and he took his mom back and said they had a good time again. 10,000 square feet of indoor space and 3/4 of an acre of outdoor space, full stage, indoor-outdoor projectors, 3 bars, a children's playground, parking on site, and more. All of that with open fire barbecue. And look, that's probably as good a place as any to spend your bye week. There's going to be games all over the place on every screen. Go there and enjoy some good food. Take the kids. You got the playground. Enjoy some barbecue and some good sides. And also, you can go ahead and talk to them about getting things set up for the next home game against Arkansas. They now provide catering and private event rental options. So perfect for the Grove or any other big celebration that you might have. That's Lamar Yard on South Lamar. Check them out at lamaryard.com. Podcast also brought to you by Sola on South Lamar. Chef Erica and her committed team of food and beverage enthusiasts are bringing top-notch cuisine and libations to you 6 days a week. Happy hour 3 to 6, fresh squeeze margaritas, ramen, 2-for-1 Moscow mules, all of that and more. You can get it in-house or curbside pickup. Check them out, solaoxford.com, or call them at 662-238-3500 and place your order today. Podcast also brought to you by Kelly English Restaurant Group. If you're looking to do something a little fancy, maybe do some cooking at home during the bye week, look no further than Kelly English Restaurant Group. You can do nationwide shipping. All of that is at irisetc.com, or you can book a virtual cooking class for Friday night or Saturday. Table22.com/iris. And when you do, use promo code SOFTVERBAL, all caps, SOFTVERBAL21 for half off your first month of cooking with Kelly. Soft Verbal is also brought to you by Cherokee Valley Golf Course. You can see the hat here on the dome. Go check out Cody Allen and the crew in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Take on the challenge of their wide, plush Zoysia fairways, large championship Bermuda greens. If you're just looking to go and work on your game as the weather is starting to dip a little bit lower, it's a little bit nicer to go play 18 holes. You can go there. They have 2 putting greens, driving range, and a chipping green. All of that at olivebranchgolf.com. You can book your tee time there or call them at 662-893-4444.
All right, let's talk about, you mentioned Judkins, Quinshon Judkins. He is making his announcement public. I think he's waiting to do it on his birthday, which is the 29th. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yes, I believe so. So we got next
So
next
Thursday?
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday?
Okay. So he was in town for his official, and I will say, full disclosure, we had exchanged messages about doing an interview. I've said it before in the Chicks. He's a very quiet and reserved kid, doesn't talk a lot. I spoke with him in person when we were there, when they had the barbecue weekend. Very soft-spoken kid, so doesn't want to talk too much. But I also think he's kind of wanting to focus on his senior season. Sat out a couple weeks, had a little bit of a quad injury that was bugging him, but came back and.
Can you have a little bit of a quad injury? I mean, in all fairness, if your quad's hurting, it's not a little bit of a quad injury.
I mean that.
I mean, I'm just. You know what I mean? That would hurt.
Built different. But yeah, I talked to somebody in Alabama. They said that he wasn't playing the first couple of weeks just to make sure he was 100%. Came back, immediately had a game, scores 4. I think he had 5 total touchdowns. So he's back playing for Pike Road. They're undefeated. Took an official to Notre Dame for their close win a couple weeks ago, and then came to Oxford. It was his 4th trip this year. I think all signs right now point to Ole Miss. I just checked. Sam Spiegelman, Rivals National recruiting analyst, put his future cast in earlier today. I talked with Mike Singer.
I should do a future cast. I've done like one future cast in 3 years. Would anybody notice if I put a future cast in?
There's probably somebody out there that's waiting on you to do it. And I feel like I know the perfect one that you should put in.
Oh, God. Can you imagine?
So I talked with Mike Singer of Blue and Gold, the Notre Dame rival site. He thinks that just kind of the vibe they got. Notre Dame put up a fight, but I think most people expect him to choose Ole Miss. I've said it plenty of times. Kevin Smith loves his game. I actually said this. Somebody asked for a comp, and I said, the guy that I'm going to compare him to was ranked a little bit higher than Quinshon was. But I've watched his tape, and look, I mean, I'll pat myself on the back a little bit, but his high school coach actually said the same guy when someone asked him in an article. But he reminds me a ton of TJ Yeldon, who was a 5-star top 20 player when he was coming out of high school, but just that very similar, good lateral movement, not incredibly fast, but has enough speed to run away from people. But he's a patient runner. He's really strong, built really well in the lower body. He's about 205 now. I expect him to pick Ole Miss, and I don't know if there's any kind of ratings boost that's coming down the road. Maybe with a strong senior year, he might get one, but I don't think it matters. You can trust Kevin Smith's evaluation over anything that's on a star rating. But they really like his game, and I think that he gives them another versatile Henry Parrish type back who can kind of do it all. Can run between the tackles, can run away from you, and can be effective out of the backfield.
So I just made my first future cast in at least 2 years, maybe 3 years. Hell, it may be my first one ever on Judkins. So there you go. You taught me.
There it is. Neil McCrady's
you
in
see
there.
it?
1:07 p.m. Yep,
there it is. That's exciting. I mean, it almost makes me want to just go do. I just pull up random kids and just make a future cast. That would piss off some people at Rivals, but it would be funny for me. But I won't do it. I will resist the urge.
Yeah. So Auburn got into his top 3. I thought that was interesting because I didn't really get the sense that Auburn was in it. I thought that it was going to be Florida was in it for a long time, and then I thought it was kind of down to Notre Dame and Ole Miss. But yeah, I think he will select Ole Miss whenever he makes his declaration. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a really good pickup. Again, he's a 6', 205 running back that was All-State in Alabama 5A football. And I think he's probably well on his way to being an All-State selection again because Pike Road is really good. Also have a big 2023 offensive tackle that Ole Miss is recruiting, Bison Lang, which is a fantastic name.
What's his name?
Bison Lang.
Like Vison?
I think it's Vysen.
Oh, Dyson, like the vacuum cleaner.
Oh, no, with a V. Yeah, V.
With a V.
V is in victory. Vysen.
Oh, that's a great name.
Yeah, it's a great name. He probably needs to get a little bigger. He's, 6'5", like 315. So, not too big. But yeah, so Ole Miss is recruiting him pretty heavily.
Think about what you just said. A kid who's 6'5", 315, and you said he probably needs to get bigger. I mean,
if he wants to play at the Power 5 level, Neil, he's gotta get bigger. But yeah, Judkins I think is going to join this 2022 class, and I think Ole Miss fans probably need to get ready. Probably going to be a busy end of September and then a busy October. They've got some guys lined up that I think they're trying to add to this class, and I think they're gonna close on.
All right, one that I'm kind of curious in because I like watching drama, and he's a in-state kid, and the whole Mississippi State commitment and 2 sports and all that stuff is Stone Blanton. I think there's been an assumption for a long period of time by most people that, at the end of the day, he's going to go to Mississippi State, wants to play baseball, is committed to Mississippi State baseball. They just won the national championship, et cetera, et cetera. And it's my understanding that their baseball program has done a pretty good job recruiting him. I'm hearing that their football program has not done as good of a job recruiting him. Ole Miss's has, and that, and I think you said here a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I don't remember. I do so many podcasts in the football season that I can't. There's no way I can remember them all. That football was going to take priority from a decision standpoint. So what's the latest with Blanton? I know he was at Ole Miss. He's going to Mississippi State this weekend. Are we getting close to a final decision?
I think so. Another kid that was pretty candid, and every time I spoke with him, he was very honest. And the last time I talked with him, the interview's up on rebelgrove.com. He said he pretty much got to the point where he had almost written off Ole Miss. He wasn't gonna go visit, wasn't gonna give him any look. I think for the longest time, people thought it was a Mississippi State South Carolina battle. He took an official there in the summer. Really liked Shane Beamer and what they're doing. And look, I mean, say what you want about them as a football team, but defensively, they get after you. So I think that was a big draw for him. But he said that DJ Durkin and Lane Kiffin never stopped recruiting him, and they kept on him. And he finally said, okay, I'm going to take some visits. So came in the summer for 2 unofficials, and then took his official last weekend with his family. And I really think Ole Miss is in this right now. I put my future cast in for him to pick Mississippi State. That was back in July. I just figured the baseball thing was going to kind of help Mississippi State beat out everyone else. But, I posted in the Chicks that.
So how does that work? Do you get to change your future cast?
Yeah, I can change it. They give you, I guess, if they have like a designated time that they're committing, I think you get up to a certain point where like you can't just go in and change it like 5 minutes before they do it.
So if I went in right now just to add to my percentage and future casted Jalen White to Ole Miss, would I get credit for that one?
No, can't do it that way. But yeah, so I'm really close to possibly flipping it because I think that he is very, very keen on Durkin. He was another guy that benefited from the weather delay where he got to spend more time with the staff. He got to sit in on meetings. And I think they're really pitching him the idea of coming in and being the guy in the middle, being a Lakia Henry type, a Chance Campbell type, coming in, Sonogo, those guys are going to be gone soon. And he sees an opportunity to come in and play. And I think that the two-sport element is huge here because you want to talk about a dead horse that's been beaten. We've talked about that on this show tons of times with how Tywan Malone, John Rice Plumlee, Jerry Neely, all these two-sport guys that have come to Ole Miss and have, really enjoyed the experience of playing both. And he talked about that with John Rice Plumlee, where the coaches work together to make sure that the time is split effectively to where they can still get their work in both sports. And I would probably venture to say that Mike Leach probably hasn't worked that well with Chris Lemonis in that aspect. I think Lemonis has done his fair share of recruiting and then some with Stone Blanton. They obviously just won a national title in college baseball, so that's huge. But I'm going to be watching this one closely this weekend when he's in Starkville for his official visit. This is going to be his last one. And I think he's going to make a decision soon after. I don't think it's going to go to signing day. I really don't anticipate him waiting to do anything at the Under Armour game. I think he's going to want to decide and get it over with.
So if you had to predict today, and no one will hold you to this one way or the other, what would you pick?
I think I still lean State. Maybe like, I don't know, 51-49 at this point. I mean,
it's like six flame emojis.
Yeah. I do think that he is really considering Ole Miss because he obviously knows he wants to play two sports. So if you go to Ole Miss, it's not like you're, oh, well, I guess I'll play baseball there. Like Ole Miss is a good baseball program, so he can play there.
Sure.
I'm interested to see how it goes this weekend because I really don't think the family is a factor here because there's a lot's been made about his parents are both State fans.
He's got some family pushing him to Ole Miss, so that probably cancels that out a little bit.
Well, yeah, he's got two brothers that went to Ole Miss, and then one of them runs an agency that represents John Rice Plumlee. So we talked about that in the interview where he's talked with John Rice about playing both sports. And, his brother is obviously talking with John Rice a lot because of that. So I think that there's part of him that kind of might want to do his own thing and not really, well, my parents are like, they like State, so I guess I'll go. No, I don't think that ever really happens in recruiting. I don't think a parent's going to say, well, if you don't pick State, then I'm going to be mad. Like, no, mom and dad's not going to do that.
Be a really terrible parenting move. I mean, yeah. I mean, on the scale of how to be a really bad parent, that would be up there. That's a really bad way to treat your kid. I mean, I've never understood the people that do that. Of you will go to this school or else. I mean,
yeah. And maybe I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here, Neil, but I think that this weekend Mississippi State is playing a little bit of catch up. Because I do think Ole Miss has all the momentum right now in his recruitment. So they're going to have to basically sell him again on playing football in Starkville. So it's, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you want to watch what he does this weekend pretty closely.
It's a fascinating game in Starkville this weekend. I've been saying it for 2 weeks. LSU, Mississippi State is just – I went on record. I picked Mississippi State today. I don't know why. I don't know.
Jeffrey basically said the same thing I did, where he was like, I have no idea what to think of this game.
Yeah, on one day I'll think LSU's going to win that game handedly, and the next day I think, no, this is Mississippi State's going to kind of rise up. This is going to be their stand, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just cheering for the LSU train to go off the tracks so hard that I'm skewed. Yeah, I don't know.
This could be a game where Mississippi State just grabs it and just takes hold of it, takes possession of the game.
Well, now,
secures it.
If that happens, Zach, it's going to get salty in Baton Rouge. Now, I'm gonna tell you if It's one thing maybe if LSU loses a 28-27 game or something, but if it's like a 35-17 type game, good luck, Ed. It's gonna be a long week.
Yeah,
maybe a long month. Yeah, you hate to see it. I tell you what you don't hate to see. You don't hate to see Daniel Barfield Wealth Management. They will sit down with you, as they have been for more than 20 years, with individuals and businesses in the Oxford and North Mississippi area. They have both CFP and CPA designations. They're affiliated with the Advisors Resource Council. It's a registered investment advisory firm with offices in Oxford, New Orleans, Dallas, and the surrounding areas. They offer comprehensive financial planning, including investment management, estate and tax planning, insurance planning, business retirement plans, and more. 662-236-6454 or visit his site, barfieldwealthmanagement.com. Learn how he can help you. Excuse me. We're also brought to you by Billy's Small Batch Bacon. My old friend William Stitt has mastered the art of bacon. He uses bacon selected from the finest hogs, hand-turned every 2 hours in small batches, and rubbed with nitrate-free pink curing salt and brown sugar molasses at his restaurant and grocery in Fairhope, Alabama. It's called Old 27 Grill. Billy has perfected the bacon curing process. It takes 8 days to perfectly cure bacon, not 7, not 9, 8. You need to try it, and if you do, you might never eat supermarket bacon again. BillysBacon.com. BILLES bacon.com, and try it today. We're also brought to you by Alpha Specialties, located at 1670 Highway 80 in Pearl, Mississippi. Alpha is your trailer-specific professional. If you want to haul it, they can call it at Alpha. It's the premium trailer dealership in Mississippi. They've got Load Trail. It's the premium brand trailer, highest quality utility equipment, dump, and gooseneck trailers being built today. They've also got Load Trail trailers, Hallmark cargo trailers. They've got the ability to work with third parties to have game day trailers, concession trailers built just for you. They have spare tires and wheels, full selection of trailer parts and accessories. They do all types of truck accessories. They can repair all types of trailers. So you need to give them a call if you are needing any type of trailer service, 601-932-9798, or check them out at alphaofms.com. Also brought to you by Jennings Executive Search. Jennings Executive Search specializes in the recruitment of accounting, finance, strategy, corporate development, and data science professionals from the staff to C-level in all industry. Whether you're a small business owner who needs a finance leader, whether you work in private equity or you run a team at a Fortune 500 company, John and his recruitment team of former public accountants will simplify the hiring process by presenting you with a short list of only the most qualified candidates. To learn more, go look him up on LinkedIn at John Jennings, Jon Jennings, or you can email john@jenningsexec.com or call 404-536-3000. I've been telling you about this on the Oxford Excellent podcast, I should say. Muddy Water Outdoors. Go there, enter the promo code Rebel Grove. You get 35% off all of the new camo stuff, the new Muddy Water Lady camo stuff, the Tri-Zone heated jackets and vests. Starting to get cool outside. Be hunting season before you know it. The cold months around the corner. Football season goes fast, and on the tail end of football is the chilly weather here. So you want to get ready at muddywateroutdoors.com. Again, promo code Rebel Grove for 35% off. And we're brought to you by Joey Erickson at Heron Gear Chevrolet. Let Joey help you find the vehicle you're looking for at a price you can afford. Choose from a full selection of new Chevy vehicles or get a great deal on numerous brands of reliable pre-owned vehicles. 662-571-2367 if you want to call or text, or you can visit him in person at 1685 High Street in Jackson today. All right, we talked about Blanton. We talked about Judkins. Who are some of the other guys that you've got an eye on here in late September, early October?
It's still hearing a lot of good things about Jarrell Stinson, the athlete out of Opelika. I think they're recruiting him as a defensive back, but he kind of does it all in high school. I think Ole Miss is in a good spot there. My pick is in for Ole Miss to land him. And then Tyler Banks, another athlete out of Virginia who's a little bit bigger than Stinson in the athlete category.
Yeah, I've heard some buzz on this kid. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's about 235, 240. Definitely a linebacker. I don't think they would move him down to like a Cedric Johnson type weak side end. I think they'll keep him at linebacker, but he was very, very complimentary of his visit to Oxford when he came. And then I think that Ole Miss is in a really good spot there. I don't think Virginia Tech, who was thought to be the favorite for a while, I don't think they are much of a factor right now. Get another big-time prospect there. Let's see. If I had to look at anyone else, I'll give you somebody we hadn't talked about in a while, and he'll be in Oxford later this season for the LSU game with a certain 2023 prospect that we don't talk about much. Antonio Williams, the receiver out of Dutch Fork in South Carolina. I think Ole Miss is in a really good spot there. I continue to play wait and see because Clemson is always going to be lurking. They haven't offered yet, but he's visited there. They're going to be a factor because they're a national program, but I think Ole Miss is in a really good spot there. He's Murphy Holloway's stepson. There's all those connections there. The whole family will be in town for that official visit for the LSU game. So I think these offensive prospects that are seeing this offense in person, whether it's for the first time or they're actually getting an up close look at how this offense operates, I think it's starting to really, I think prospects are taking notice that, okay, like this is probably the best offense in college football right now.
All right, we went 46 minutes and 44 seconds without directly referencing Arch Manning, which might be a record here on the show. Kudos to both of us. He took the visit to Georgia. He'll be in Tuscaloosa next weekend. He's visiting Ole Miss October 23rd, that weekend for the LSU game. Still planning a visit to Clemson, and he's still planning a visit to Texas. But he took the visit to Georgia, and he wore a Georgia hat. So it's over, right? And that's it.
Yeah, he
wore a hat. I mean, it has been my discovery that if you put on a hat, it's over.
Well, you saw that there were some students at the game that painted up and said, "We want Arch." So
sure.
You should go ahead and just put the FutureCast in now.
I mean, you could sort of see the thought bubble like over his head at the stadium, going, Dad, they painted their chests and their backs.
Yeah, they even did a little chant.
They chanted.
Said they wanted him.
They said my name.
Yeah. Sometimes it works. The fans chanted for Malik Newman, and they didn't get him. So.
Yeah. Chanted for Johnny O'Brien back in the day. It didn't work out.
That's a throwback. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I've been doing this a lot longer than I thought I would when I started in 2008.
Arches, he's going to get to see Ole Miss in person twice. And that's not me throwing out a read between the lines thing at all, but he will see them at Alabama next week, and then he'll see Ole Miss in Vaught Hemingway for the LSU game when they retire his uncle's number. I anticipate he will be on the field for that presentation.
I would think. Yeah.
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 Probably, if I'm a betting man, I'd probably say that somebody's going to start a "We Want Arch" chant at some point while he's out there.
I think that's safe. I think that's a safe assumption. I do.
So really going to upstage Uncle Eli. So
Eli getting his jersey. Is his jersey being retired in New York this weekend, or is it Ring of Honor, or both, or what?
Oh, is it? I don't know.
Yeah, for the Falcons-Giants game. I'm pretty sure this is Eli Manning Day.
Okay, all right.
I could be wrong. Now I'm hopeful, because if I'm wrong on that, I look like more of a complete idiot than I normally do.
I will take your word for it. I do not know.
Let's see. I'm pulling up Eli Manning. September 26th. It's Eli Manning Day at MetLife Stadium, a day in which Manning's jersey will officially be retired and he will be inducted into the team's Ring of Honor. So I'm right. There you go. I for just a minute, when you looked at me with like a look of blank confusion on your face, I thought, did Did I dream that? I mean, surely not, right? No, it's really cool. What a cool year for him. Have his professional jersey retired, his college jersey retired.
I mean, you're on a roll. You put your future cast in for Quinshon Judkins, and you just call this one. I mean,
I know. I mean, it's my day.
Go buy a lottery ticket.
It is my day. All right. What have you heard anything about the visit to Georgia? I heard the visit went well. Visits go well. He likes the environment. I get it. Most people who visit Athens like it. The strongest that anyone has told me is that they think Georgia's positioned itself in the top 3. That's about as far as anyone's been willing to go. And for the people who go, you have no idea, you might be right. Who knows?
Yeah.
He is a kid, and kids do talk to their teammates, and kids do talk to other kids, and those kids talk, and so you have to track the degrees of separation.
Sure.
I continue to hear the same 2 schools consistently, and sometimes you'll hear Georgia with them, and sometimes you'll hear Clemson with them, but I keep hearing Ole Miss and Texas and Ole Miss, to the point where some people at Texas are starting to make comments like, hey, if Sarkisian doesn't get Arch Manning, it's the beginning of the end, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
But that's kind of out there.
That's what I've been saying. I think the relationship with Sark is strong, and I think he likes Austin.
Yeah. Sure.
And now it's kind of strange because every other team that's somewhat in contention at this point is, a legitimate college town, and Austin is not a college town. It's
no.
Humongous city. But he likes the vibe there. But that's what I'm hearing. Texas, Ole Miss, it's 1A, 1B. Like no one, those are the 2 that are ahead of everyone.
The people that factor in the whole feelings thing, who knows, right? I mean, I don't know. He's going to go to a couple of games. And sometimes for kids, and I've talked to kids, not Arch Manning, I've talked to other kids in the past about this, where they went to a game, and the game ended up having an impact on them, not based on who won, but based on they felt a pull towards one of the 2 teams over the course of a football Saturday, and they kind of started thinking, maybe there's a reason for that. So I don't know. He's going to go to that game, and I expect a competitive football game in Tuscaloosa, and maybe he feels something, or maybe he realizes that, hey, that's not as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be, and it's going to be easier to go elsewhere. It could go either way. You can paint that picture however you want to paint it, depending on your perspective. But, I would think that that's something that he's a human being. He's going to have emotions, and so he's going to feel something or not feel something, and he's going to have that thought, like, man, I'm really cheering for Ole Miss here, or hey, I'm so ingrained in this process right now that I'm not even thinking about this as Ole Miss. I'm just watching offenses and whatnot. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, who can fault him for going? I mean, it's going to be the marquee game of that weekend, probably of the season so far. It's the 2 top Heisman contenders. The greatest coach of all time on one sideline, and the guy that's running the hottest program in the country and the best offense in the country right now. So it's going to be 2:30, but I mean, it's a prime time vibe of a game. So
for sure.
Yeah,
no doubt. He'll get to watch the way Bill O'Brien uses Bryce Young. He'll get to watch the way that that Lane Kiffin and Jeff Lebby use Matt Corral. He's going to get to see a lot of offense. It's a great environment. I think Alabama does game day as well as anyone in the country. Frankly, I think they do it better than anyone in the country right now. Certainly in the SEC, their game day environment's just incredible. And so it'll be interesting to see what he feels and stuff like that. We'll never know. We might find out one day down the road, but all of those things factor in. And then 3 weeks later, he'll be in Oxford, and his whole family will be there, and that whole family thing is either going to be a positive or a negative. And I have no idea. I mean, for most people, it would be a positive. some people, and I'll be honest, there are people out there who say, hey, you got to remember this kid really wants to do his own thing. And, I get that too. I can get where you would stand on that field on the day that they retire your uncle's jersey and your grandfather played there and they've got street signs named after him, and your other uncle is the biggest loss in the history of the school from a recruiting standpoint, and your dad was going to play football there, and all of that stuff, all of that. I mean, I can see how all of that would be a big draw, and I can also see how someone will look at that and go, you know what, I don't want to necessarily have to fall and run in those shadows. I want to kind of do my own thing. So I don't know which way he's going to go. And based on some things I've been told, Zach, I don't think he knows.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you take the visits now and you go and see games in person. You see offenses in person. You talk to coaching staffs. You talk to other players. And that's the thing. What's it going to be? Is he going to want to go off and do his own thing, or is he going to, hey, like I want to go to Ole Miss. I want to follow in the family footsteps. And there's a ton of security in that, where he's comfortable with Oxford. He's comfortable with what Levy and Kiffin told him in their sit down meeting that they had when he was in town unofficially. So the security aspect of that is huge. If you're looking for other type of security, look no further than Protection Unlimited, the Mid-South's leader in commercial and residential alarm security. Wayne Lowry and his team have been serving the greater Memphis area and North Mississippi for 40 plus years, and they would love to get your business and or family protected today. Cutting edge security for your home or business, video surveillance options, monitoring 24/7, 365. You can reach them via phone 901-754-6510 or email them at info@protectionunlimited.com. Podcast also brought to you by Bluff City Advisory Group, Memphis's leading team of finance professionals who can provide advanced assistance with financial planning, pension and qualified plan support, and business and estate planning strategies. I don't know if they do anything with sports handicapping, but I saw that the line for Ole Miss, Alabama, I believe, is at plus 17 right now. So maybe you can get some strategy from Ben Still for that. Won't put any words in his mouth. He may tell you no, he can't do that. But Ben Still and his team are making it their goal to help you with the ongoing demands of your financial needs. Learn more about them at bluffcityadvisory.com. Software will also be brought to you by the Berry Home Team. If you're wanting to build wealth with real estate, or you're just looking to change up your address, look no further than Rick and Stacy Berry. Over 175 homes sold and more than 42 million in volume closed. They are looking to help ease the process of buying, selling, or investing. So they have the answers, and they can give you the options to help you make the best decision and the one that is sure to meet your needs. Call them 901-481-6420. After you do that, go ahead and give Saddle Creek Title a call, the Mid-South's leader in client-focused, innovative closing solutions. Neil Hanna and his team are more than just a real estate closing firm. They are dedicated to going the distance to ensure the ease and growth of your real estate business. Go to saddlecreektitle.com or call them at 901-753-1600. Last but certainly not least, Soft Verbal is brought to you by Davis McCord State Farm. Good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates. Look no further than Davis McCord. He is your one-stop shop in Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Mississippi for the service you deserve at the price you want. Go ahead and give him a call, 901-755-6110 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
So I saw where you had some little bit of basketball recruiting nuggets. I had a story on a basketball commitment earlier in the week. Or not a commitment, a visit, I should say. Not a commitment, visit.
Yeah.
Visit. Just a visit. Going to visit other schools. Is it Kennedy Chandler? They're going to see him over the course of the weekend. Is that right?
Not Kennedy, but it is another Memphis guy. Chandler Jackson.
Chandler Jackson. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Kennedy Chandler though he signed with Tennessee. But you had they would
like to get him.
yeah, absolutely. They were in town to see him today. I posted it in the Chicks. It does look like Memphis is starting to kick the proverbial tires there and see what he thinks. I don't really think that Chandler Jackson is dwindled anything down. He released a top schools list recently. Ole Miss was included, but it was a semi-lengthy list. It was like a top 8 or a top 9. So I think he's still mulling over his options, but Ole Miss is in town today to see him work out. He's been busy. He's had a lot of different coaches that have been in town to see him. They would love to sign him. I think they're in it. I think they're certainly a factor with how guard friendly Kermit Davis is and how he coaches and he kind of lets his guys play. And then Matthew Morrell is from Memphis, and him and Chandler Jackson are buddies. So I'm sure that Matthew Morrell is helping them out there. But yeah, and then you talked to RJ Godfrey. There was a little bit of a football angle in there as well. His younger brother Grant was in town for an unofficial visit. Talked to him briefly. Said he really enjoyed the game, even though the weather was terrible. He said he still had a good experience, and he was there with his family as RJ was going around for his official visit.
I'll leave you with this. This is not football recruiting, but pretty interesting news. This is from the Wall Street Journal. That's my source. Ancient footprints yield surprising new clues about the first Americans. Reading again from an article written by Robert Lee Hotz. He says, at the height of the last ice age, generations of children and teenagers ambled barefoot along a muddy lakefront in what is now New Mexico, crossing paths with mammoths, giant ground sloths, and an extinct canine species known as dire wolves. Sounds scary. Now, some 23,000 years later, the young people's fossilized footprints are yielding new insights into when humans first populated the Americas. Unearthed in White Sands National Park by a research team that began its work in 2016, the tracks are about 10,000 years old and about 1,600 miles farther south than any other human footprint known in America, scientists reported Thursday. Quote, it is, in my view, the first unequivocal evidence of human presence in the Americas during the last ice age. Daniel Otis, chief of science and research at the U.S. National Park Service and a senior author of the report, said of the discovery, the footprints are inarguably human. There you go. How about that?
Wow. I'll take their word for it.
I'm not arguing.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. For decades, many scientists were convinced that humans first arrived in the Americas as recently as 13,000 years ago, reaching the continent from crossing the ice-free land bridge from Asia or by sea along the Pacific coast on the journey from humanity's African homeland. Others argued that they arrived about 16,000 years ago or even as much as 30,000 years ago, but there simply wasn't enough evidence in the fossil record to settle the debate. Now, at least for now, that debate has been settled. So there you go.
So there was an ice bridge that went from Asia to the Americas?
A land bridge that went from Asia to the Americas.
Jeez. Do you imagine walking across that?
It would take you a long time.
That, and then, what if it just breaks? I mean, what are you going to do? You're just out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I mean, it'd be better than fighting mammoths and giant ground sloths.
True.
And dire wolves. Dire wolves sound scary as hell. Like, I don't know what that is, but like
that's like Game of Thrones right there.
Yeah. And you're barefoot in the ice age, so your feet are cold, right, and wet because it's muddy. I mean,
how is that?
It's miserable. What a miserable existence.
Yeah. History, man. It's scary.
Yeah, for sure. So there you go. We'll end on that factoid.
Technically, that is U.S. history, so I don't know if you and Carson will cover that, but
probably won't get to that right now. We're still very much in European history.
It's world history, right?
A lot of Britain, a lot of France.
Okay.
Some Dutch history over the week.
You just haven't watched The Crown. Cover it all.
I could. And I could tell his teacher, hey, he watched The Crown.
Yeah,
Now, we've studied a bunch, man. He made an A on his test. So
there you go.
But I'm sure they've started a new unit. It's kind of like football. I mean, you get like 24 hours to enjoy a win.
Yeah.
And then you got to turn the page, man. You got to turn the page, and you got to start getting ready for the next game. What happened in the past only helps you if you feed off the process that got you a successful result. If you just linger in the past and you don't put the work back in, it's going to catch up to you. And so obviously at some point this weekend, he and I have got to pull out this new unit and get at it because we got to start the process of getting ready for the next exam. It's Bama Respect Week, and I'm trying to give Nick Saban the proper respect.
Got to throw it in the trash.
Got to throw it in. You got to put it away. You got to put it away. You can go back and revisit it another time, but every moment you spend living in the past is a moment wasted when you could be getting ready for the future.
It's like Gandhi.
It is.
Remember the past, plan for the future, but live for today, because yesterday is gone and tomorrow may never come. The future depends on what we do in the present.
Yeah, yesterday's gone. Yesterday's gone. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop. It'll soon be here.
We're covering all bases here on the Soft Verbal.
It'll be better than before. Yesterday's gone. Yesterday's gone. So with that, we'll leave you. Have a great weekend, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this catch up on Ole Miss football, a little bit of basketball recruiting. CollegeCornerStore.com is the place to go. 2 locations in the Jackson area, but you can go there. CollegeCornerStore.com. We're going to have some giveaways probably tonight on the Oxford Exxon podcast, Hand Raise Guys. So look for that. I'll give you an example. Hold on, Zach. I was really worried that chair was going to tip over if I leaned too much further. I've got this from the College Corner. It's a grill set. Ole Miss special grill set. Can you see it there?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, it's really nice. So we'll probably give that away tonight. Have some sort of a
Pat 40 would hate that spatula.
It's a sportula
because it says Ole Miss on it.
Yeah, he wouldn't like that at all. It's got tongs and a fork and a sportula.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd take that.
Well, I mean, I guess you have a chance to win it. That would feel like kind of insider trading if you did.
Yeah.
But you know what? You could go to collegecornerstore.com and buy you one.
That's very true.
So
don't want to be like Kevin Malone and do insider trading.
Right. All right.
I found the quote, Neil. I was looking for it. So it's Eleanor Roosevelt.
Okay.
Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why they call it the present.
Oh, wow. That's strong from Eleanor. You never know what you're going to get on this show. You never know what you're going to get.
Never know.
All right. Have a great weekend. Talk to you guys soon. For Zach, I'm Neil. Take care.